Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Masters with Harshad podcast. Today, we have with us a very, very special guest for our 10th episode. We have Shreya. Shreya is a graduate of MSCS at Stanford, and she's currently working with one of the most happening teams at Google, the Vertex LLM team. So please welcome Shreya, everyone. Hi, Shreya.
Hi, thank you for the introduction and for having me over here. Very excited to do this podcast, and I am hoping to share as much information and as much knowledge as I can with everyone. And I really hope everyone finds it useful.
Absolutely, Shreya. I think I can already sense that this is going to be something that's going to be useful for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, that's what the goal of this podcast is. So, Shreya, the first thing I want to ask you, right? So, Stanford is everyone's dream university. Like, if you ask any CS person, like, hey, where do you dream of going to? The first thing is going to be Stanford, of course. So, if you
Mhm.
had to summarize your experience at Stanford, like, your 2 year experience, what are the things that you can recall the most and like uh, what is your favorite thing at Stanford? What was that like?
Yeah, I think if I want to summarize my Stanford experience in one word, I would choose it to be magical.
Wow.
It was like a great experience. So it's a school where you will find folks from all walks of lives, but they are so passionate in doing whatever they want to do that it's like really just great to be around them. It's very humbling for sure, and it is really it it makes you think in many different ways that you wouldn't think of like previously. So my most favorite thing about Stanford is actually like the people who make up Stanford. So
Right.
be it the faculty, be it the students, be it just like everyone who's on campus who is like there to maybe like attend events or just around because talking to people and learning from them and collaborating with them helps you kind of like makes your mind open and you
Mm,
get a very good exposure um, that you kind of take with you when you leave and that experience stays with you throughout your
right.
life. Yeah, so that was like my one big takeaway from Stanford.
Right. I think I love the choice of words the choice of word you had, magical. That's great. So I think I can kind of one semester in at Columbia, I can kind of
Mhm.
differentiate between like the Indian education system and the education system here, and
Right.
like what my other peers at other universities are doing. I can like see the difference what a good university might have, and so I can imagine like Stanford might be like a couple of tiers above that. So that's amazing. So, Shreya, what was the course structure at Stanford like? So you have 4 semesters, right? So were you able to like pick and select courses? Did you have specialization you had to declare, and what was or how was that structured?
Yeah, so actually, Stanford has a quarter system,
Okay, got
which
it.
most of the UCs also have. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
really have semesters, we have
Okay,
quarters. So the MSCS program is again like you can. It's normally people take 2 years to finish it, but if you want, you can finish it in 1.5 years as well.
got
So when
it.
you do 2 years, it is 6 quarters. When you do 1.5 years, it is 5 quarters. And I think like with any like MSCS program or like in any MS program, you have certain requirements that you have to
Mm-hmm.
finish.
Correct.
So you take like a few courses which help you satisfy those requirements, and apart from it, you take certain electives as well.
Got
But
it.
especially for like Stanford, the MSCS program, it is very acads heavy. You can do research if you want to, or like if you find time outside of your actual
Right.
courses, you can try to do it. But yeah, some of my friends did graduate with a thesis
Mm-hmm.
because they were doing like research every quarter or most of the quarters while they were there at Stanford,
Oh,
and then they graduated with a thesis as well. I did not, but I did do research. So yeah, I mean, like you can pick and choose. Like maybe like what some people do is like a couple of first quarters they will just try to get accustomed to the
Correct.
whole new life and the whole new academic
Education.
structure
Absolutely.
and how taxing it is, right? And then they will eventually might take up like a research position, like an RA-ship for
Right.
credits or maybe like for funding if they're
Hmm.
lucky. And maybe like later on they can do like a TA-ship as well. So yeah, it was that. And one thing for the Stanford curriculum is like at least like at my time, I graduated back in 2021, is that you have around 8 specializations that you can
Got
pick
it.
and choose from. So AI is one of the specializations, systems is one of the specializations, human computer interaction is one. So you can always like pick your specialization and try to maybe like take a few courses pertaining to that specialization as the requirement, and then when you graduate you will something will say that okay, MS in CS but with a specialization in AI. So that helps put weight on your resume, let's say when you are trying to apply for jobs
In
which are there
particular.
in that particular
Hmm.
specialization, right?
Right.
So that is one thing about Stanford, the graduate course.
Got it. So, Shreya, are we allowed to take courses from, say, the business school or from some other school as well, and that would count towards your requirements, or how was that?
So yes, it you can take, like when I was there, I did take a course from the GSP. It was a
Hmm.
negotiations class.
Nice.
Um, you cannot sign up directly. I mean, you have to, I think, first mail, like at least I had to like mail the professor and take their permission. But yeah, it
Hmm.
is open. So in
Got it.
Stanford, there are not a lot of, like these rules and policies and saying that, oh no, you belong to this department, so you can only take courses of this. So we don't have that kind of culture at all. It's all very open communication, and
Got
you
it.
have to ask, right? And that is like the rule of life. Like if you
Right.
don't ask, if you don't put
You're
yourself
not
out
going to
there,
get.
you're not going to achieve anything, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
I did that as well. So I did take a course there, but it did not get counted for my
Degree
course
requirement
requirements.
as makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So that was something like I was already doing good with, like, you have to, if I remember correctly, you have to finish 45 credits
Okay.
over 2 years, and you
Mm-hmm.
do that very easily. Like people do it like in 5 quarters as well. So maybe you
Got
finish it
it.
in like 5 quarters, and the last quarter you,
You can do
if you
something
have funding
else.
already, then yeah, you can just do something else, like take courses which interest you. Maybe take a course from the law school,
Makes sense.
whatever. So
Shreya, can you hear me? I think, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I think,
There was a bit of a lag. Cool. I think
yeah, I
we're
can hear
good
you
now.
now. Yeah, you
Awesome.
froze for
So
a
I think,
bit. Yeah.
yeah, so that makes sense, Shreya. So my question was, so now how does the academic the tuition fee structure work? Like, so are you charged based on the credits you take, or are you charged based on semester?
Uh,
Because
I
for
believe you get. Mhm.
so for us at Columbia,
Go ahead, go
we
ahead.
charge based on credits. So if I take an extra course from outside, and say it
Mm-hmm.
even fits into my requirement or not, like if it doesn't fit into the credits I need to graduate, I need to pay for it. But in certain other universities, you pay per semester. So you can like take 2 courses, 3 courses, or even 4 courses that semester. Does not matter. You're paying
Mm-hmm.
for like that
Yeah, there's a
semester as
flat
such.
rate. Yeah. At
Oh, got
Stanford,
it.
I remember, yeah, at Stanford, it's a flat rate. So
Okay,
every
got it.
quarter, you have to pay like a flat rate, and then you
Okay.
take either 2 or 3 courses because it's also like a quarter
Oh,
system. So you
right,
don't
right,
want to
right.
take like 4 or 5 courses, otherwise you'll basically
Makes
die.
sense. Right, right.
So I always took like 2 or 3 courses per quarter,
Makes
and
sense.
there was a flat rate. But yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't think it was a per credit charge. I know in Colombia I think
Correct.
there
It's
is a
per
per
credit.
credit
Yes.
charge, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. So Shreya, what kind of how big was your class for MSCS, and like what kind of students were getting? Like, what were their backgrounds? Were they with work experience, without work experience? Were they from computer science, like, or like from other departments? What was that like?
Mhm. Good question. So, in my time, the batch size was 150 students.
Hmm.
Stanford is super selective,
Absolutely.
and they want to keep it very diverse.
Hmm.
So I did not see a lot of Indians there. Like actually, to give you some numbers, we were just eight people from India who got into the MSCS program.
No way, that's extremely
Yeah.
selective. Wow.
Yeah. I know like in other universities, they say that there are like a lot of Indian and
Correct.
Chinese students in the
Right.
MSCS program, but that was not true at Stanford.
Wow.
They really emphasize on diversity and
Hmm.
demographics, so that is actually also representative in um how they like give admissions.
Makes sense.
So we were only 8 folks, and yeah, it the like all of us who came, at least like from India, all
Hmm.
like I'm friends with all of them. So
Right.
most of them had work experience. So even when I
Right.
was applying, I had 2 years of work experience at Myntra.
Right.
And so did most of my other batchmates who were also from India. A few of them were actually fresh out of undergrad,
Hmm.
but they did have like really good profiles, right? Like, and all these guys were from IITs. Like, they're all like from old IITs, top
Right.
100 rank, and like, department rank 1, department rank 2. So that is generally the trend. I don't think I have seen anyone in Stanford with a CGPA below 9,
Absolutely. I think, yeah,
undergrad
yeah,
CGPA
that's
below 9.
correct.
So, yeah, so you have to be really academically, you have to be like at the top of your class, basically,
Makes
or like
sense.
one of the top students at your undergrad. And they're also very brand focused.
Yes, that
So
was
when
my
I
next
went,
question. So, have you seen people from
yeah.
not from IITs and ITs and like, those ones?
Yeah, so in the MSCS program, like the 8 kids I'm talking about, I was the
Right.
only one from a non-IIT
But that's still
school.
NIT Surathkal. So it's
Yeah,
still,
it was also NIT
it's
Surat,
not too
yeah.
far. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, but then when you go there and when you see like all the
Correct.
kids from IIT,
Yeah.
old IITs, then you
Y-
feel like
There is a
yeah, I
there's
mean,
a little bit.
yeah, we can talk about that later, but yeah,
Right.
right now also like I have been following the admissions from Stanford
Hmm.
since I've graduated, right? Like some of
Right.
my juniors, they come and talk to me and they're like, "Hey Shreya,
Correct.
like we just got in," and then I generally like keep interest in how they're hiring.
Right.
Um, IITs have a very good reputation there. The
Absolutely.
professors, they know that people from these schools have given like really good results, like they have been successful in the past.
Hmm.
So they have a pretty good reputation. Like I remember when I first went to meet my advisor at
Hmm.
Stanford. Like he was just like assigned to me, right? Every student has an ACAD advisor. So I went for a
Right.
meeting and I said that, hey, I'm from India, and he's like, oh, okay, which IIT are you from? So that was
Right.
the next question, right? So
Makes
I remember
sense.
this particularly because yes, so yeah, and about like the other folks I interacted with, so a lot of people tend to go into like something called co-term. So let's
Hmm.
say you finished your undergrad at Stanford, you can actually like spend one more year, do your masters, and you can end up with both like a bachelor's and master's degree.
Makes
So like a
sense.
dual
Makes
degree
sense.
program that we call in India. So
Right.
it's called a co-term. So there were few
Got it.
students who came from that background, and
Right.
then a lot of yeah, I think most of them, not all, but yeah, a good chunk of people did have work experience.
Makes sense.
So
Makes
I
sense.
would say like close to 20 to 30% of the class. So
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. So, Shreya, when you were applying to Stanford, like what were your other options when you were applying? So I'm assuming Stanford would have been at the top of your list too, right? So what were like the other universities you were considering?
Yeah, so I had a list of 10 schools that
Hmm.
I applied to, and I kind of like they all belong to different tiers. So
Right.
like super ambitious,
Right.
safe schools, like how all
Right.
of us apply,
Correct.
because also
Absolutely.
have to be like kind of
Pragmatic and little.
realistic,
Yeah,
pragmatic
absolutely.
about, yeah,
Correct.
practical about all this, right? So the other schools I applied to were UIUC.
Hmm.
Their MSCS program is also pretty good. I got in
Correct.
there, and then I applied to CMU. I applied
Hmm.
to like a bunch of two programs in CMU. I got in there, and then I applied to UT Austin,
Hmm.
UCSD, um, then UC College, UCMP, Maryland,
Oh, right. Yeah.
University
It's
of
college, I think. Yeah.
UMCP. My bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
UMCP. UMCP, and then USC was
That's
my safe school,
right.
and then those were most of the schools I applied to.
Got it. Got it. So, Shrey, how much did your program at Stanford cost for the 2 years? And like, how, if you're comfortable sharing, how did you fund the thing? How did that work?
So I think the CS program is pretty expensive. Like Stanford is a very expensive school, right? Because it's also
Correct.
private.
Absolutely.
So I remember my I-20 amount that I had to show for the
Hmm.
first year was close to 80K.
Okay.
And I'm guessing 80K, and I'm guessing that would be the same amount for next year. So I think the whole program would be somewhere around at my time actually, like um, was around that, but actually you don't end up paying that much because they all show like the I-20 rates are like mostly like
Correct. A
amplified.
little more. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I think it was around like you have no, actually not that much. Sorry, I'll take that back. I think it was around 15 to 16K per quarter.
Okay. Okay.
So 45 to 50K for first year, and then the
Hmm.
same like for the next year. So yeah, close to 100K, I would say.
Got it.
And this
Right,
is
right,
just the tuition, and then you have
right,
like the lodging and everything extra. Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry, I don't have like the exact numbers
That's fine.
because
That's fair.
I yeah, because I don't like I was throughout funded, so I never paid anything out of my pocket.
Oh. See, now that's what we want to
Yeah.
hear next. So, how that works? So, did you apply for funding, or like before you got in, or did you get in and then apply for funding? How did that work?
Yeah, so I didn't go in with any funding. So Stanford doesn't give the graduate students with any funding. So do most
Got
of the
it.
schools, right? Except for
Correct.
UIUC. UIUC gives you funding.
Oh,
But for Stanford, they don't. So I went without any funding and ready to like took like a lot of loan and went all ready to like get a hole in my pocket. But
right.
I went there and I just like started applying to the research groups. Like I reached
Hmm.
20 days before, and the moment I got my stanford.edu login, I
Email.
just started
Right.
mailing professors left and right about potential opportunities in their lab or
Right.
like potential RA-ship position or a TA-ship position. I mean, it is difficult to get like a TA-ship position in your first quarter itself
Makes
because
sense.
you don't have experience in teaching that course. So professors don't really prefer that.
It's correct.
But
They're not too sure. Also. Yeah.
so exactly. So for RA-ship, I got it with the professor, and I was able to get like funding from the first quarter itself, and then I continued researching with him throughout all my quarters, except for the last quarter where I did a TA.
Got it.
But I did that for most of the quarters, and my funding was throughout there. And Stanford's funding is pretty awesome. They are very generous, so they like an RA ship or like a TA ship. It covers your tuition, and it also gives you a monthly stipend, which is pretty handsome. So with this stipend, you can very easily cover all your like lodging and all your expenses and all those
Right.
things.
Right.
So yeah, I did graduate net positive. Um,
Wow, wow. I think this
so
is what the audience wants to hear because everyone, including me, who's been on this podcast, we've always said, yes, we are graduating with a huge hole in our pocket, but this is very
yeah,
motivating. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I see. Yeah, I think people. Yeah, that is true for most of the folks. But my opinion is that if you are really out there and like you are not letting go of any opportunities and you are just like trying to be on a lookout of whatever comes your way and being like really enthusiastic to take it up, you never
right.
know, right? So
Absolutely.
like even and that's not just my story at Stanford. It was also like most of my friends who were there,
Hmm.
they all got funding somewhat or the other.
Got
So
it.
the reason is that the undergrad size is pretty huge, right? And the
Hmm.
graduate students are, I mean, Stanford's graduate school is still like pretty big, but like if you just see the CS graduate program, it is still very
Right.
small. It is only
Correct.
150 students, and then you have 45 PhD students every batch.
Right, right.
So if you take the ratio, it is very less.
Mm,
Like this is very less, right? So, and they're always like professors prefer graduate students for TA-ships and for
makes
like
sense.
other
Research as well.
research-ships. So
Absolutely.
that's where your opportunity lies. So you just need to be like very proactive and like looking out for these opportunities and keep an eye out. Um, Also would want to add that I would consider myself lucky that I got funding from the first quarter itself. But
Mm,
most of my friends, like they couldn't get it in the first quarter, so they, let's say, like another friend just like did it for research credits for the first quarter, but
right.
then because he did a good job in
Good
his,
job. Second semester. Right.
yeah, from the next quarter itself, he converted it to like a paid position, right?
Got
So
it.
that's how you can also approach that. Hey, okay, maybe for the first couple of quarters, I will do it for credits, right? Like you deliver, you show how good you are, and then if everything goes well, then you can. There's a possible chance of converting it to like a full time, like a funding position.
Absolutely, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I just want to clarify. So when you say a TA-ship, so if you're being a TA for one particular course, just one particular course, even then your whole tuition fee is like covered and
Yes,
you get this. Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Okay. And that
So
way, if I
TA
look
ship
at,
and RA ships, yeah,
please,
TA-ship
please.
and RA-ships have TA-ship and RA-ships like they are both the same in terms of
Got
the
it.
monetary value. So
Okay.
uh, a 50% TA-ship or an RA-ship, you spend like 20 hours a week.
Hmm.
That's there in your employment letter,
Right.
and then your tuition is fully covered,
Got it.
and you get a very handsome stipend.
Got
There is
it.
also like a 25% TA-ship and RA-ship,
Hmm.
which covers everything half. Like your tuition is covered
Got it.
half, and you
Right.
get like half of the stipend. So let's say if you don't have that much time to give, so you
Makes
can like go
sense.
for a smaller commitment. But yeah,
Correct.
I would
Correct.
always ask people to like go for a 50% TA-ship, RA-ship, because
Right.
you will like as a graduate student, so you will be able to
Need
find
some
the time.
time.
And they do say 20 hours per week, but that is not really true, right? Like
Right. Absolutely.
some weeks would be a little hectic. Let's say if you have a paper deadline, that
Right.
week might be a little too hectic, but other weeks it's not. It's very subjective, right?
Correct.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But both are the same in terms of
Got it.
monetary.
Got it.
Yeah,
Right. So now I feel, yeah, Colombia does not pay us enough. Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
Columbia and even like other schools. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know
I
it's a
think
little.
net we get about at the engineering school we get about $3,000 to $4,000 a semester per tiership.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a huge delta between the two.
Yeah, Stanford TA-ship, RA-ship are very good. Like I think it was how much you mentioned. That's what we used to get every month.
Okay, I think I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so that's why when I said that it's very handsome and it easily
Right.
covers like your lodging charges in a place like Bay Area, right?
Absolutely.
So
Right, right.
because it's pretty and everyone lives on campus.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah, so that's
yeah,
another question I had. So, are graduate students also housed on campus, or do they have to stay off
yes.
campus? On
Yeah,
campus.
everyone stays on campus. Yeah,
Got
like
it.
when
That's
I went,
awesome.
like they used to there were there was like a lottery system.
Hmm.
And most of the students used to live on campus, but there were also like some subsidized housing. Let's say if your lottery number was like you came very last in the lottery,
Right.
but they built more housing on campus in the last 4 years. So
Got
now
it.
everyone stays on campus.
Wow, that's really nice because at
Yeah,
Columbia, because I think it's in the city, so we majority of us stay off
right.
campus. So yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
So,
that's true for all the schools, but not
mm,
for Stanford. Yeah.
nice. I can see why Stanford's still number one. So Shreya, was it intimidating in your class? So you told me mentioned that you were the only non-IIT, and I'm assuming even the people from the other countries and universities would also be quite top notch. So was it intimidating early on for you? And are there some opportunities you think you got there at Stanford that when you talk to your peers from other universities that they did not get and you got, and like that has helped you, like in your career and in your personal growth as well?
Um, yeah. See, so I think like every grad school um, is a little taxing and intimidating in the first quarter. I
Absolutely.
personally felt that a lot when I came here because I felt like an imposter. So I had like a very big imposter syndrome when I came in.
Right.
Um, and apart from it, you also have to consider a lot of other factors, right? Like it's a lifestyle change. When I
True.
was in India, and I think many people could relate to my story. Let's say if you're working, you kind of get into the mode of like going to the office, coming back, and in India, everything is taken care of, right? Like if you like, I was like in Bangalore for 2 years, and I had like house help, I had cook and everything. So the lifestyle was very, I
Different.
would say, comfortable. And when I
Absolutely.
came in here, you have to do like everything on your own. So, and also you have to like do like coursework and assignments and
Correct.
cook and clean and do everything. So I would say
Correct.
it's a very big, massive like lifestyle change that everyone should acknowledge, right?
Mm.
Like, and keeping that in mind, you should not overburden yourself in the first quarter. So this is the mistake that I did, because when
Hmm.
I came like fully energetic and enthusiastic that, oh, okay, like I have gotten this opportunity and I have to make the best use of it.
Right.
So I took like the two most hectic courses in my first quarter,
Got
and
it.
while I was dealing with like the heavy coursework and with a break in doing accounts because I was working for 2 years, right? So
Right.
you get out of the habit of doing assignments and, like studying.
Right.
While I
Correct.
was dealing
Correct.
with all that, there was also like this big lifestyle change which added on top of it, along with like other
Mm.
stuff like loneliness and other things, right? So
Absolutely.
it can
Right.
become
Right.
very daunting if you are not
Mm.
aware of these changes.
Mm.
So I would highly encourage and recommend everyone to not take the other things very lightly, right? Many a times it is not like your hard work or your smartness or how quickly you're able to like get things.
Right.
Many a times it are the other small things which add up, and then they can like amplify or
Amplify.
compound over the
Absolutely.
time,
Absolutely.
right? So yeah, it was pretty intimidating. It was, but I would say like as the quarters proceeded, like first quarter was is always very difficult. That is like the ground rule. Like it's if it went well for you, then okay, good for you. But
Right.
for like 90% of the people, it is very
Absolutely.
difficult.
No, true,
And
true.
then
I've
you
experienced
like
it
once you get a
firsthand.
hang of
Yeah.
exactly, and then once you get a hang of like doing assignments and like okay, fine, if you're not able to solve something, go to the office hours or like form study groups and like do that. And I would say especially specifically for like I've heard for Stanford and as well as CMU, the acads are pretty bad, right? Like you have
Mm.
it's very hectic. It is the folks are like really smart. And
Mm.
I remember for one course, they how they release the class, the average
Average
scores and
and
stuff.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So one class's score, median score was 90, sorry, 105 on 100. And I was like,
Wow.
wait, how did this happen? And then I
Right.
realized later that there was this extra credit question for 5 mark,
Right.
which more than 50% of the, like, I think what that everyone had done. And that kind of pushed the class median to 105 because everyone scored
Wow.
a full mark and plus everyone
Right.
did that.
Oh wow. Okay,
So,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
so there was like things like this did happen with me. And
Hmm.
that kind of like, and that's what is really important, like in the long
Correct.
run. I mean, if you're always surrounded that by people who are maybe like as good as you are, or maybe who are a little bit, you like you are the better person, then I don't think you're growing. Um,
Absolutely.
you always have to be around people who are better than you, because that
Correct.
pushes you out of your boundary, and that is what pushes you and compels you to achieve higher. So that is one thing which I like really encourage everyone, because once you start getting comfortable, right, you're not actually growing.
Right.
So yeah,
That makes sense. I think that reminds me of something what Jack Ma once said. He's like, whenever I go to discussion, I make sure I'm the dumbest guy there.
yeah,
So I think that's when you
yeah,
always learn, right? That makes sense.
yeah.
So
That
okay,
should be the mantra of life, because yeah,
correct. Otherwise complacency can very easily set in, and you never
exactly.
really have the thing to grow. Makes sense.
That's
Makes
right.
sense. So, Shreya, did you do something differently when you were working or when you were in college that you think helped you get into Stanford, like compared to your peers and stuff like that? Because I'm sure you're probably the only one in your batch and in a couple of batches who's made it to Stanford from NIDK, right? So, what did you do something specifically, or do you think things just fell into place? What was that?
Yeah, good question. So I'll be very honest. I was not thinking of doing an MS when I was in undergrad.
Got it.
I like I was not 100% sure. I always knew I wanted to do like a graduate, program, but it could have
Hmm.
been an MBA or it could have been MS. Like
Hmm.
I was not very sure. But one thing which I always made sure of is that my CGPA is really high,
Hmm.
right? So get the basics right. Okay, like you are an undergrad, have a good CGPA. Try to get publications in. Try to be in the good books of professors because they will give you the recommendation letters, right? So try
Right.
to accomplish these basic things, and then as you, I mean, if you do have clarity that okay, no, I really want to do like an MS, then it is good for you. But if you're not sure, at least try to have these things covered so that
Hmm.
later on when you decide, these things do not hold you back, right?
Makes
Oh no,
sense.
I did not have a good CGPA. Oh, I do not have publications. So in NITK, I think like that was my main thing. I also tried to like get publications in,
Hmm.
and to be honest, like they are still helping me right now because I get to mention them in my resume, and I'm clocking like citation counts on that, right?
Wow.
So
Right.
so that is something that you build early on. You set the
Hmm.
foundations on, and then you build up. So
Right.
yeah, but two bits which I definitely like want to like uh, ask everyone, whoever is thinking on those lines, to focus on is real have a good CGPA. Like that is always going to help
The
you,
most fundamental.
right?
Absolutely. That's what I keep telling people. So
The
they
most
ask me, what is the
fundamental.
one thing?
Yeah,
I tell
yeah,
them, see, publication is a must. It's a very good to have. But first thing everyone's going to look at is your GPA. If that is not there,
exactly.
unless you're like
Yeah,
outstanding in your research, like extremely
yeah,
outstanding, you're not going to stand a chance.
right. Yeah, I agree. Like people would say that, oh no, you don't need a really good CGPA. Bullshit. You need a good
Absolutely.
CGPA,
Thank you for
right?
putting that
Like
out.
you
I
need a
think
good
people
CGPA.
really need it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because another problem that happens I've seen with a lot of people is when they're in the final year, it then starts striking them that, okay, I need
yeah,
to do a master's maybe, but my GPA is gone. So
right.
I think it's very important that people, I'm going to share this among, even the people in the universities as well, like in their undergrad right now, because they should understand the importance of not just, being happy that, hey, I've gotten into NIT, I've gotten into IIT, now it's my time to enjoy. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
how
yeah.
life works. Yeah.
You will never stop working hard in your life. I mean, like
Absolutely.
if you are
I
a
think
growth,
even at
if you're
Stanford,
if
I'm
you're
pretty sure. Yeah.
yeah, if you're someone with like a growth mindset,
Mm,
you will never stop working hard. Like it's never gonna end. I'll
correct.
tell you guys. Like, right, it's not like okay, fine, I got into like a really good undergrad. It starts from there, right?
Right.
Because I've seen with a lot
Absolutely.
of people that they kind of deflate. They'll be
Mm,
like, okay, fine, I'm just like done. Let me chill for a bit. Okay, fine.
right.
Maybe chill for one semester. Get up.
Right.
If you want to like do well in your life, you have to get up from the second semester.
Correct.
A
Correct.
good CGPA, and I would definitely say one thing which really helped me in Stanford was my publications.
Mm,
I had 5 publications in my
wow.
SOP
Right.
when I went in, and I think that what made me get into it. If I have to think one thing which made me stand out from my other peers from NITK who also went
Mm,
to like really good schools,
mm,
um, it was my publications. So
got it.
I had 2 publications when I was in my undergrad. So I had one from my third year thesis and one from like the final BTech project year
Mm,
thesis. So I would say people that okay, don't be like very intimidated by publications, right? Let's say you have like a good idea and you work really closely with like a professor. Try
mm,
try to also like pick professors who publish, right?
right.
So that you have like an opportunity and they will help you in publishing. And it doesn't have to be like fancy ass conferences, okay?
Right.
Like it has to be like a conference that let your professor like suggest that okay, these are some of the avenues where you can publish. Pick
Mm,
one, but try to get a publication in. It is really going to help you, okay?
right.
And then I had like 3 more publications when I was working in Mintra. So I was like a machine learning engineer there as well.
Mm,
And I like when I was in Mintra, it somehow like I started getting clarity of what I want to do in my career. I
right.
started to know that okay, fine, I want to do like an MSCS, and I started working backwards, right? Like I knew
Hmm.
publications are gonna help me. I mean, it's never gonna hurt. So okay, you are working, and you're also if you're getting an opportunity that you're able to publish in your team, why not, right?
Absolutely. I think that's what
And
a lot of people look for as well. So please, sorry, sorry. You can continue.
Yeah, so it's really important to like really think about what makes you different from others because okay, high CGPA, fine. I honestly think about 9, everything is same.
Hmm.
Uh, recommendation letters, people can get it. They're also like, yeah, also get like really personal recommendation letters, right? Like generic recommendation letter, even if you're getting from a VP of a company, doesn't is not gonna make the cut. Um,
Makes sense.
get like personal recommendation letter, personalized recommendation letters, and the third is publications. Like try to publish or try to like get patents or try to like do anything. All my fellow friends from like the 8 of us that I keep telling about,
Mhm.
they all had publications. Nothing
Makes
else. There
sense.
is,
Makes sense.
yeah, they all had like really strong research backgrounds.
Right. So, I mean, Shreya,
If not
that
like,
brings me.
yeah, but if not that, but some, sorry, I will finish.
That's
Like,
okay.
not everyone had, like, the folks who came like directly from undergrad, they had like really good CGPAs and they had the IIT brand name. So
Okay.
they
Got
had
it.
something on their profile.
So, did they have some amount of research as well? Like, had they published at least one paper, maybe? Was that also there? Or
I
maybe.
maybe I don't know. Like I think one person who came, he had one
Okay.
publication. The other person did not, but he was like department rank one,
Okay. I
or
think
maybe I
that
think
kind of. No, I think that
yeah,
kind of,
and that
yeah,
too like from
covers it
IIT
for it.
Bombay, and from
I
IIT
mean,
Bombay.
then I think there is not much to be said. Fair. Fair.
Yes,
Yeah.
but maybe I don't remember, and I don't like really want to put out false information, but they
Absolutely.
could have they would have spoken about research because I've seen
Correct.
this in specifically IITs, right?
Mm.
Um, they have some really good labs and
Mm.
they do like really good research, which I did not find a lot happening in NITK if I'm comparing.
Absolutely.
But even if you didn't have a publication there, but let's say you researched in this person, right? They researched in a lab whose
Mm.
professor is very well known, and they
Right.
quoted them on the
Right.
SOP. And let's say that someone who's reading your like SOP
They
in
know.
Stanford, they know
Right.
about this. So
Correct.
it basically has to like form a
Absolutely
very
fair.
like your SOP has to be like very close knit. It has to talk about a story. Each thing
Correct.
has to lead to another thing, right? So
Right,
that
absolutely.
is like
I
the
think that
basic
makes sense.
funda.
And
Yeah.
that's a pattern even I've noticed. So I think I'm glad you brought that up. And I keep telling this to people who watch the podcast or who talk to me as well, that all these things are like super, super critical and important.
Yeah.
Great. So my next question was, so when you joined Myntra, so did you know you were going to go for like you're going to work in a team where you're going to publish papers? Did you look for the team, or did you just end up there by chance? Because a lot of students who decide to do their masters after they start working, they look, you know what, I don't want to do this. I want to switch things, or I want to study
Right.
more. So they find it difficult because wherever they're working at, they do not have the opportunity to do research. It's like a
I
full stack
know.
development or
Yeah.
something. So what was that like for
Right.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I would say I I think like luck also played a little bit of role because I remember when I got into Myntra and I was about to join in a month, right? Like I had
Mm-hmm.
come back from school. So they floated like this team matching form
Mm-hmm.
where they were like, okay, fine, you're going to join. So these are some of the teams which are hiring. So um, let's try to like put you in one of them. And
Right.
I had to give like 3 options.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be like different from like for other companies, but I'm just talking about my
Right.
experience. So I so my boyfriend, like right now fiance, he was a little bit, he really wanted me to go into like he's a little bit, he knew that machine learning is picking up,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows that like at that time I was thinking of like going into masters. So he was like, you know what, Shreya, you should go into like a machine learning team. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what his idea was about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I then like actually made my resume a little bit around that.
Makes
So I did
sense.
fill in my choices. I put machine learning in the first place, and then I tried to kind of highlight my machine learning projects in my resume because
Makes
in
sense.
in in undergrad, like at that point machine learning was just picking up, right? And I'm talking about
Correct.
2016, 2017 for me.
Right.
So
Right.
it was still like not very hot.
Right.
So I
Correct.
had done like all sorts of, and in undergrad you do all sorts of projects, right? You do web
Correct.
development, you do networks, you do compilers, you do
Correct.
whatever. So I I had done all sorts of projects. I had all sorts of projects on my resume, but
Hmm.
I did highlight the ones which were machine learning, and then that's how I
Hmm.
got into the machine learning team. I did not know if they publish in that team, right? But
Right.
as soon as I
Right.
entered, I saw the culture, and that differs from
Hmm.
team to team. Some machine, like
Absolutely.
my current team at Google, at machine, like we do generative AI.
Right.
We have clear mandate of not publishing, right? Because the
Right.
competition is so high. But there are still
Correct.
like a few teams in Google DeepMind who still publish.
Makes
So I would
sense.
say
Makes
I was
sense.
lucky because I landed in that team. So my
Hmm.
advice to everyone is that if you have clarity of what you want to do, and it doesn't have to be machine learning, right? It can
Right.
be like network systems. Try to maybe get into teams or maybe like organizations as such who publish, because that
Right.
is going to like help you. So be a little mindful of how you pick.
Correct.
I have
Correct.
a couple of friends who went directly for like their PhD programs at Stanford, and they do this research associateship in Microsoft Research. I think there
Hmm.
is this 1 year or 2 year program in Microsoft Research where you're not
Correct.
full-time employees, but you are like a research associate, and the whole that program is meant to kind of give you an opportunity to do research. And when you do
Right.
research, you publish papers, right? So in a
Right.
way, you are preparing your profile for MS or PhD in the future. So be a
Makes
little
sense.
mindful of where you want to go, and that's really going to help you in the long run.
Absolutely. I think that's very important. So at every step, know where the target is and like do incremental things to get there. Like it's not going to happen. Like it's very hard to do just one thing. There's no one thing that will get you there. You just have to take those small, small steps that will get you there. That makes a lot of sense.
Right,
So, Shreya, one thing is when a lot of students are applying, they tend to not put Stanford even in their ambitious list because I think it's super, super, super ambitious. So
right.
how did you convince yourself that I can make it to Stanford, and like Stanford is something that is potentially possible? Because I think
I
the first barrier of entry is the application fee. So when I was applying,
Right.
Stanford was on my ambitious list, but once I applied everywhere, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to spend some more money into someplace I might not. I have a very good chance of
Yeah,
not getting into. So
yeah, yeah,
how did
yeah.
you overcome that?
Yeah, that's there's a like a very interesting story around it. So I was not applying to Stanford, right?
Oh, wow.
I was not applying. I
Okay.
and I'm not like trying to like brag or something like that. This is like an
Hmm.
actual story. It was not on my
Okay.
list.
Right.
Because I had not seen people from my college get into it.
Right.
Right? And I
Correct.
work on facts. Like the most premium school that they were getting into was CMU, right?
Hmm.
So CMU was
Right.
my top choice. I was not
Correct.
going like CMU. I was applying to like two
Right.
courses. But then my boyfriend at that time, he was the one who was like very ambitious
Wow.
for me, and he said
Right.
that, "Why aren't you applying?" And
This
I'm
guy's
like,
a
"No,
great guy. I
like."
really want to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and it was like, yeah, I was like, why aren't you applying? And
Right.
I was like, no, I think it's like too ambitious. There's like very slim chance, like all the things. And then he was like, okay, fine. Your SOP is already ready. You just have to tweak it a little bit to cater to that particular school.
Right.
Go for it. If you don't get it, I will pay the $125 registration fee that you're doing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
just go for it, right? Like everything
Oh,
is
he,
done.
he
You
got
just have to
lucky.
like
He got
apply.
lucky. He didn't have to pay for that though.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's so
I come,
cool.
but yeah, like about that, right? Many people have this thing, and I used to like run a similar podcast myself,
Hmm.
like a couple of years ago, and I've spoken to
Okay.
like so many students, right? Um, you have to overcome that. I mean, it's a no regret move, right? Like
Right.
$125 in the long run. Like if you go like, at least for me, it was $125 when I was applying. Maybe it has gone up right now.
Right.
In the long run, it is not gonna matter, right? Like
Correct.
at least you
Correct.
won't have the regret that, hey, what would have happened if I had applied,
Right.
right? So why not just like go for it?
Correct. Correct. I
You
think
don't
that
have to
makes
do any
sense.
extra work. You're already applying for like so many schools. Your SOP is
Right.
already 90% done. Just go for
Right.
it. What's the harm?
Correct. I think that makes sense. Like $125, yes, sitting in India when you convert it to rupees, it might
I
seem like a
agree.
decent amount. But once you get here and you start earning, like you get paid by,
Yeah,
the hourly rates like 40, 45, 50. So you recoup like at least
exactly.
that much, you recuperate it quite fast. So that's something I think people have to keep in mind and something that I think I should have
Yeah,
also kept in mind. So yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you so much for putting
Everyone
that
should go
out.
for it. Yeah, everyone should go for it. Why not? Like nobody's stopping you, then why not like aim for the highest,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. That is a very good uh, thing to have. So, is there any particular tip that you think at this point you'd like to give to the Stanford MSCS aspirants specifically? Like, since you've mentioned that you were mentoring students from your university and like other people who reach out to you,
Yeah.
I'm sure, which are a lot. So, what is it? What is it that you tell them other than the GPA and the research? Is there anything else people can look at?
Um, Actually, no, I think I've covered most of the things.
Got
I
it.
was just going to mention that Stanford specifically it really values applicants who have research background.
Hmm.
So if you are able to somehow highlight it in your profile by, let's say, doing like a research internship somewhere, or through publications, or through patents, or like some kind of
Hmm.
research experience, that
Hmm.
is gonna be like very valuable, right?
Makes sense.
So I would definitely recommend people to do that.
Got
Um,
it.
Maybe like try to like reach out professors
Hmm.
and say, or if you attend conferences, try to like have a personal one-on-one like conversation with them. And you never know, right? Like I went to like KDD in when I was in Mintra, and I met like a CMU professor there, and I
Hmm.
strike like a conversation with them, and yeah, like it helped out in the future. So you
Makes
never know
sense.
what comes in. So yeah, be very open to like go and talk, go and
Right.
communicate, right? And yeah, and keep your CGPA high. It's absolutely like the one thing that you should really take care about. Like
Makes sense. Makes
really,
sense.
but not saying that okay, if you don't have like a high CGPA, don't be like disheartened. Uh,
Hmm.
Try to like try to be like excel at like something, right? Like your application should have like one or two highs, right? Like
Right.
one or two peaks that really like make you stand out, because so
Makes
many people
sense.
apply, but your SOP has to be like really, really convincing, and it has to
Correct.
be technical. Don't use up words to say that, okay, fine, I was like doing like this and that in like other places, and the extracurriculars.
Right.
I had just like one paragraph to kind of show my overall, like this thing, but um, keep it very technical. Like it has to be very technical.
Got it.
So keep it that way.
Okay. So I think this actually brings me to a question that a lot of people have been asking me as well. So when you're structuring your SOP, a lot of people talk about having a story in the SOP and things like that. So are you also someone who believes in having the SOP as a story, or like do you just look at it as like a document with a couple of coherent paragraphs that say something? How do you look at it?
My SOP was like a story.
Hmm.
Because if they just want to read on your facts, then they have the resume, right?
Hmm.
They already have your resume,
Right.
where you just like put in like bullets and structure it that way. So I think that is still being continued right now. I hope
Makes
that's not
sense.
very outdated, but I prefer, and whenever I'm also like reviewing SOPs, how much in whatever time I get now,
Right.
I always um, I always try to keep it as a story.
Makes sense.
Try to keep it as a story. My SOP, like if you read it, um, you will like you will kind of like get a feeling that, oh fine, like whatever she did, she was very
Hmm.
thoughtful about picking her projects, and like
Right.
picking her career choices, and picking her mentors, or picking her anything, right? Like it will read like a story, but to be honest,
Right.
it was not like that,
Absolutely.
right?
Life is never that coherent, right? You've got to
Exactly, life is
find
never
the
that coherent.
structure. Yeah.
Exactly. Because when I was doing my undergrad, like you cannot pick courses, right? Like in Indian
Correct.
undergrads, like mostly the
Right.
courses are all set, and you do certain projects, so they're all pretty disconnected. But it's on
Right.
you of how to blend everything together.
Correct.
So
So I think it's
make
only
it like
possible
very
in
coherent.
hindsight that you can only see it from back
Exactly.
and say, okay, so this has resulted in this and this has resulted in this, therefore I am here. Like
Exactly.
until,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense. From the
And
bigger
that's
picture,
true
you can
for
see
like,
it all.
yeah, and that's
Right.
true for like any document that you write.
Hmm.
I would like maybe like even when I write like design docs for Google or like anywhere else, like try to like
Hmm.
have a flow in
Hmm.
your writing skill, so that it
Makes
also
sense.
keeps the reader engaged, right?
Got it.
So yeah.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so Shreya, I think enough of Stanford. Now let's move on to the next part of what you're doing right now at Google, right? So tell us about how you went to Google. Did Stanford help in that process? And like, what are you currently doing at Google?
Right. So I don't know if Stanford helped or not, but like maybe it did a little bit on the resume, but
Hmm.
I like we all know, right? Like the US school system is such that we do not have placements like we have in
Correct.
Indian schools, where like
Right.
bunch of companies come in your final year and then you sit for placements. So
Correct.
it's nothing like that over here. Here you really have to like reach out to people and put yourself out there, get referrals, like apply.
Right.
You know the whole drill, right? It is
Correct.
pretty
Correct.
taxing.
Right.
So I was actually reached out by someone from Google,
Hmm.
saying that do you want to like interview, and that's how I got my interview at Google. And one thing which I was really particular about was that I have done like my master's with a specialization, which is
Mm-hmm.
NLP, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to stay in that field. So I
Makes
was not
sense.
really open to do like a normal generic SWE. I'm not
Right.
saying that is bad. If you're someone who is really interested in that, definitely go for
Right.
it. But just talking about myself, I was pretty selective of what kind of
Hmm.
roles I want to go into. So
Makes
like applied
sense.
scientist role or MSv. So I landed in a similar team at Google,
Hmm.
and I was earlier like my previous team was doing document AI,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically building NLP powered document processing services for Google Cloud. So I'm still in Google
Hmm.
Cloud, but I
Mm-hmm.
switched teams. So not switched, but my team got changed. So this is like pre LLM era, like back in
Right.
like 2019 when this whole
Right.
wave had not hit. So my team was
Correct.
doing like more classical NLP techniques for document processing.
Got it.
So I was in that team. And then we pivoted a little bit to focus more on generative AI powered services for
Hmm.
Vertex AI. So currently, I build NLP powered applications like APIs for LLMs. So we partner very for Vertex AI. Sorry, we partner very closely with GDM, which is Google DeepMind,
Mm-hmm.
and we deploy the state of the art uh, models at Google
Makes
for
sense.
our cloud customers through their API. So that's what my role entails.
Sounds super interesting. It sounds like it's at the pinnacle of what is
It's
happening
very
right now.
stressful. It's at the pinnacle. It is very fast moving. I think
Correct.
anyone who is working in the whole LLM space, they're not sleeping. They're not getting enough sleep. So
I can imagine. I can
it's
imagine. You've got to pivot. You've got to like move very fast. Like people are posting stuff left, right, and center. And
exactly, and there's
yeah,
so much of competition, right? Like, and
absolutely.
Google has to keep up. And so my
The
team is like at the forefront. Like it's cloud makes money, so
right
we have to like get the customers. So
makes
it's
sense.
pretty
You've got to be the
it's pretty
differentiating
exciting times.
factor. Right.
Exactly. It's pretty exciting times.
Hmm.
I'm on the quality side of things, so I'm not on
Hmm.
like the infra side of things of deploying stuff,
Okay.
but I'm more
Right.
on making sure that whatever like LLMs that we are that's like forming the backbone of our APIs, they are
Right.
actually like really high quality on all the tasks that we care about.
Makes sense.
So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
mostly on the modeling quality side.
Got it. Is that like benchmarking on existing data sets and things like that? Is that
Uh,
how?
it entails a lot of things. It starts with
Okay.
benchmarking because
Okay.
you need to do evaluation in
Assess
order
the
to like
quality. Right.
know assess the quality and know where you
Mm.
stand. And then you kind
Right.
of once you know that, then you work backwards, right? Like you
Mm.
contribute training data and then you like
Right.
make your models a little bit more better by closely working with GDM. So there are like bunch of things that you can contribute on.
Got it. Got it. This sounds very interesting and very, very, yeah, it just sounds very interesting to me because I'm also trying to get into that space. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as we come towards the end of the episode, so is there would it be possible for you to share your GPA, your GRE, and your TOEFL? Like
Okay.
you just said it was above 9. So but could you like give particulars on that? And also, did you notice a GRE trend by any chance at Stanford? Because some universities have this thing where they look at like a very good GRE, but others are like anything above
Yeah.
315 is like we're good because it's not really an indicator of how smart you are. So
So yeah, sure, I can share. So my CGPA was 9.09. Like you can
hmm.
round it off to 9.1. I
Okay.
was not the top ranker. I was actually 10th in my class. So there were like
Hmm.
nine other people who had like better CGPAs than me.
Right.
My GRE score was 321.
Got it.
And my TOEFL, I'm not remembering, but it's there on my LinkedIn. I have like put all
Got
my
it.
scores public.
Sure, sure.
So
Perfect.
I
Perfect.
think it was 118. It's out of 120, right?
120, yes.
Yeah, I think it was 118.
Okay.
So, but yeah, GRE, people told me that, yeah, anything above 320 is okay.
It's
It's just like
good.
a
Right.
qualifying factor. But
Correct.
I had like another friend, actually, a good friend of mine from NITK. Her name is Amita
Mm-hmm.
Kamath. So she
Mm-hmm.
also got like into the MSCS program 2 years before me. So she went straight out of undergrad to
Okay.
Stanford.
Okay.
One of the only other NITKs I know who went into the CS program. Her
Right.
her GRE was like really high.
Oh,
So I'm not gonna like yeah put it out, but I know like the other folks like it was like 335 plus, I would say. So
wow.
I know folks who had like really high GREs who came
Right.
in as well. I'm pretty sure like all my other friends, but looking at my GRE, I think it's just like qualifying factor, right?
Absolutely. I
Like
think, yeah,
I just had 321. Yeah,
correct. I think they have a cutoff of like 315, 320, or like something, like 155 or 150 and like verbal. And I think
yeah.
that's,
I think
and as far as the quant is
yeah,
good, I think that's very
yeah. You
important.
need to have good quant. Yeah, you need to have good
Yeah.
quant, I feel.
I Because I think the curve is very weird. So at 168, it already goes down to 90 percentile or something. So 167, 168. So I think you
Hmm.
need to have about that in 170 and you should be good.
Yeah, are they publishing like the GRE trends for colleges anywhere? Do they do that?
I think not all universities do that. Some of them do, some of them don't. So it's always
Okay,
confusing. So yeah.
right.
You have these third-party portals where people put up their own things, but it's very hard to verify
Right,
those.
right. Like
So
Yocket and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
correct,
makes
correct.
sense.
So yeah. Cool, then Shreya, thank you so much for your time. This was one amazing conversation. And I think it's very interesting to see repeated trends, that in all the conversations I have with people. Like the first step is always ask. Until you ask, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah,
And second thing is like GPA. There is no alternative to that. So yeah,
right.
thank you so much for your time, Shreya. This was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. And let me know if I can be of any other help. Always willing to give back to the society as much as I can
Thank
and
you.
how much
Thank you.
time I get.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thanks
I
for
can
doing it.
imagine. Yeah. Thank you, Shreya.
Yeah, and keep up with it. And I hope folks find this podcast
Absolutely.
interesting
I
and
think I would
useful.
have found this useful if I had listened to this when I was applying. I would have probably applied to Stanford and then
Right.
crossed my fingers. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have
Yeah,
made
you
it,
never know.
but you never know. Yeah, it's like you don't know. It's until you apply, you don't know. So
That's
yeah,
right.
that's amazing. That's
Cool.
amazing. So
Awesome.
thank you, Shreya. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone, for
Harshit.
watching this episode. This was like one super filled with knowledge and a lot of things that I find very pragmatic. I've also got a masterclass for those of you who want to check it out. The link will be in the description for the same. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good time.
Bye.